If you kill somebody, you go. You don't believe that?
No. I don't, because I don't believe all murders justify the death penalty. But if you're suggesting that we have not in this country done what we have to do, the nasty but necessary task of removing our most ferocious predators, you're right. We haven't done that. The country, the people, and the politicians and the administrators and the people that are running this country in that regard haven't done the job they were supposed to do. In my view, for example, the appellate process is we have no death penalty. It's a joke. In my view, it's terribly wrong.
Well, now, the Mike Farrells of this world will say that it doesn't deter crime. What's your feeling on that?
Well, it deters one person for sure.
That it does.
But I was standing backstage and I heard you make a suggestion, and it was a joke, but it's some truth to it. In Singapore, you can leave your cars out, nobody spray paints them, and what a couple of Americans did, and they found out the hard way, you don't do that there. In New York City, they say, although I don't know it to be a fact, one of the most safe people in the world is the bag lady for the mafia. Nobody messes with the bag lady. Because when the Godfather says, there was another case in New Jersey where two third-rate hoodlums broke into a nunnery, raped and sodomized one of the nuns, and took a crucifix and carved little things on the body. Well, the Godfather put a contract out, and they quickly turned themselves in and demanded solitary confinement.
Because the Godfather deals with the pragmatic sense of the issue as opposed to us who are always trying to figure out the humanistic thing.
But I would say this. The one caveat I would put on the whole thing is that I don't believe you should execute somebody if there's a question of fact. If you say, we don't know, but I prosecuted a young man many semesters ago that raped and killed two little girls, and there's no question as to guilt, no question at all, and the jury was out about an hour and a half on death and came back with death penalty. He's been alive on death row since 1983. The mother of one of the girls who all she wanted to do was live long enough to see him die. She finally died. She just couldn't wait any longer. And for him to continue to take Commonwealth's money and to have all those people that he hurt, and he's a bisexual psychopath, I think that's wrong.
Now, the people who are against the death penalty would, I guess they're arguing that that woman has a malicious intent. Do you feel that she was justified in... you know, this is what happens. You take good people in this culture and get them to the point where they're so broken, so devastated by the heinous nature of the crime that they actually get to the point where I'm sure they would have never thought of that in the first place. But after these people initiate the first step, they actually spend the rest of their life thinking, you know, the only thing I want out of this is to see that fucker die. Do you think that woman's wrong for doing that, or do you understand that completely?
I understand it completely. I don't believe she's wrong. I believe that retribution is as old as civilization. But I always used to say, you know what the definition of a true conservative is? A liberal that's been mugged. Give me one of those old boys on the jury any day.
Yeah, they understand the meaning of it. We've got a phone call, line 3. We've got John from Duluth, Georgia. John?
Good evening, Dennis. Good evening, Judge Lane.
Good evening.
My wife asked a good question. All moral judgments aside, we do have the death penalty in America. What do you feel is the best means of capital punishment?
Well, I believe in lethal injection. I disagree with my host, Dennis Miller. He said he wanted to, you know, put TV and all that. I believe it's a process of elimination of the accused, the criminal. I think the death penalty is society's self-defense mechanism against those who are not safe to be at large. I would do it quickly, humanely, and get the job done. I think lethal injection is the way to go. That's the way I would do it.
I find it intriguing that a wife who has a good question in Duluth, Georgia, has to pass it through her old man to get it on TV. Line 9.
Hey, how you doing?
Line 9, we've got Murtaugh from Charlotte, North Carolina. Murtaugh?
Hey, Dennis, how you doing?
Have to say.
How you doing, Dennis?
How you doing?
How come they always sentence men to death and they rarely sentence women?
Well, they did the one lately, right?
Texas just did a woman, I believe, or maybe it was Florida, but women historically are not on death row as much as men are. I don't know why more men or more this ethnic group or that ethnic group gets it and doesn't get it. But to me, that begs the question. If you deserve it, you deserve it regardless of how you pray, the way the color of your skin is, how you zip your pants up.
You know, women mass murderers earn only 75% of what men mass murderers do. It's unfair, but it's the truth. Line 4, we've got Scotty from Long Island, New York. Scott?
Hey, how you doing, Dennis?
Okay, how you doing?
Pretty good. What do you think about having the criminal have the same act done to them as they did to the victim?
Well, I don't think Mills agrees with that,
Well,
right?
I've heard that argument made, and from a purely retribution point of view, you can't really disagree with it. I personally don't believe that that should happen, because I think the government is doing what the government should do under the applicable law, and that is the way to do it the most humanely. So I don't think it should be inhumane. I just think it should be done.
It should not be inhumane. It should just be final.
Yes, sir.
We've got line 3. We've got Gary from Louisville, Kentucky. Look, Gary?
Hi, Dennis. Right on, brother. You guys are telling the truth. You and Mills are top. My question
Is this Gary from Louisville or Link from Mod Squad?
Nah, this is Gary. My question is the death penalty used fairly on all that are convicted of death penalty crimes?
Well, I think the answer is no. I don't think that, and that's the big argument against the death penalty, and one of the big arguments that it's not equally applied. And I don't think, as long as human beings are going to be in the mix, you're ever going to have absolute across-the-board equality. But that, to me, begs the question. The question is, should it be done to that person? And you have to focus on that person as opposed to everybody else.
Now, what do you see as an alternative to the death penalty? Do you think life imprisonment is a deterrent like the death penalty is?
Well, I don't know that you can prove that one way or the other, but I think this. I go back to, let's suppose that it is. But if public resources are limited, and I believe they are, tax dollars are limited.
Obviously.
We ought to spend our limited resources on children that are hungry, people that don't have good medical care, people that are homeless and no fault of their own. Spend our limited resources on people that deserve it. But why should the government and the taxpayers fund people in prison for the rest of their lives at $25,000 or $30,000 a pop? That makes no sense to me. We're all going to die. We're all going to die sometime. And if you commit capital murder, I think society has a right to say, that's it. Your time is now.
You put somebody to death, Mills? Have you done it yet?
Oh, I've prosecuted 6 death cases, sentenced one to death as a judge, and yes, I've done that, and I witnessed an execution. Jesse Bishop in Nevada with gas. It's not a pretty sight, but I think it's a necessary and nasty task that has to be done.
Man, it's a little easier now that gas prices are down. Mills Lane, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around, Mills. Stay right there.